Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast, where we are continuing with this special evaluation of the official hearing transcript that was released to the public in Idaho versus Kohberger on the 21st of February, 2025. Please follow the link that I have provided in this and every description of every single podcast episode that we have ever done here at the Indie Zone on the Idaho versus Kohberger case. We are now continuing at the bottom of page 100. This is line 24. This is a question that is being asked on direct examination by Ann C. Taylor. She is lead counsel for Mr. Kohberger of Mr. Matthew Gamette. He is an official with the Forensics Department of the Idaho State Police. Question. So after that, they have a recommendation for you. And just by way of background, the recommendation is from Othram Labs. Question. So after that, they have a recommendation for you. Going on to page 101 for the answer. Line 1 correct. Quote, what's their recommendation to you? Answer. Their recommendation to my memory, to my recall, was that they had several individuals that had the potential to be of interest in this investigation. They asked us if, to further their family tree building, if we could be in contact with individuals and see if they were willing to contribute information into the databases that they were using in order to further the family tree building and further the geological work. Question by Ms. Taylor. And we're in a closed setting here, so I'm going to ask you to give me the last name. Answer. I don't recall the last name. I'm sorry. Question. Was it your understanding that these were 4 brothers? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay, what did you do in relationship to these 4 brothers? Answer. So what we did, some cursory work, just looking in publicly accessible information. Literally, Google searches and things of that nature. What our approach was is we didn't want to be approaching people, especially with, and this is the bottom of page 101 going into page 102, with an investigation of this nature that really had nothing to do with anything. We just wanted to make sure there was some reason why Othram Laboratories was asking us to go and ask these individuals to put their DNA into the database that law enforcement can search. So we just did some work to build just very cursory family trees to see what connection those individuals might have and to verify these individuals were indeed brothers, things of that nature. Question. Did you verify that they were 4 brothers? Answer. I don't know that we would use the word verify, but we believed that the information was reliable that they had given us based on the publicly accessible information. Question. Now, I know you said you can't remember the last name of those brothers. We're here today, and Brian Kohberger's name has been on the news for 2 years. You know his name. That wasn't the last name. Answer. That was not the last name. Very interesting testimony here, ladies and gentlemen. If I could just interject that this is the 4 brothers that was discussed in the order denying the IGG suppression motion that Mr. Gamette is now testifying to upon Ms. Taylor's questioning. So, recommendation, if you have not already had an opportunity to read the order denying the motion to suppress IGG, it's in the first 2 to 3 pages where this issue of these 4 brothers and what ISP asked relative to this line of questioning will provide you with more information. We will continue. That was not the last name. Question. After you did the cursory work in the family tree, what was the next thing you did in relation to these 4 brothers? Answer. We at some point, and I don't remember exactly when, we had asked our investigator, Detective Vicky Gooch, with the Idaho State Police to, and we're going into top of page 103, reach out to one of the brothers we believe had put information into a genealogical database. Ask him if he'd be willing to upload that into one of these databases so that they could further build out and use that information. She was, I believe, initially able to contact the individual. He was skeptical about her contact, and so there was another contact, a three-way call made between myself, Vicky, and this individual for purposes of trying to validate this was indeed a law enforcement investigation, this was indeed a legitimate request, and at that point that individual requested not to be contacted again, was not interested in participating. So again, this provides us with further details of what Judge Hippler was addressing in the order denying IGG suppression motion as it related to this one of these brothers who had been contacted but declined, specifically saying here, not only did he decline, he asked not to be contacted again, is what is being testified to. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on line 15 here. During the time leading up to that phone call when you were building your family tree, I know that none of the four brothers had the last name Koberger. That name didn't come up when you were building the family tree either, did it? Answer, no. Question, after that brother said, don't contact me again, what was the next thing you did? Answer, so I don't remember, again, exactly when the time frame was with that, but I know that there were active discussions about having a phone, that's the bottom of page 103 into 104, call with the agency and the prosecutor's office about the work that was being done. They were requesting updates from us of what is the Othram Laboratory doing. Where are you at in the investigation? Those types of things. We were giving them updates via telephone, via telephonic conferences with them, just giving them updates on what we've delivered. The sample, we've done this, those sorts of updates, and then they requested a meeting with us to talk about the testing. Question, those conferences, who participated in those? Answer, most of the time to my memory, it was usually Idaho State Police detectives. The prosecutor's office might have been privy to some of those discussions. Again, just general updates about where we were in the process. Question, tell me about this meeting. It sounds like there's a big meeting that happens. Answer, there was a meeting, to my knowledge, but I don't remember exactly when, but probably the morning of December 10th, when we had a meeting, telephonic meeting is my memory, with representatives from Moscow Police Department. I believe the feds had representatives on that call. ISP, when you hear ISP, ladies and gentlemen, that's Idaho State Police. ISP, I believe myself, ISP legal counsel, and I believe that the Colonel of State Police was also on that phone call. We are now at the top of page 105. Question, what happened on that phone call? Answer, in that phone call we were asked to turn over any kind of investigative records that we had, any kind of information that we had to the feds team. They provided me with an email address to be able to provide what they were requesting from us, which was, to my memory, it was the login information essentially, and it might have been other things I'm not aware of, like packets and things. I'm not aware of the technical terms, but basically they were asking us to provide that information to the FBI investigator. Did you do that? Answer, yes. Do you know what you provided to the ISP investigator? Answer, so what we asked for was to be provided were the two database searches or information so that those could be independently searched. And we also asked them to cooperate and provide any information that they needed to be able to further investigation. Question, when you say two databases, you mean the two genetic genealogy databases that allowed law, at the bottom of at 105 and to 106, enforcement to search? Yes. To my knowledge, these samples were searched in two genealogical databases that allowed searching by law enforcement, so GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, I believe were the two that were searched, and we were asked to provide those credentials, that information, to the FBI. Question, do you know that GEDmatch has two different databases, GEDmatch and GEDmatch Pro? Answer, yes. Question, is it because one of those allow law enforcement and the others doesn't? Answer, I believe that is correct. Okay. Question, Idaho State Police Forensics Lab's discretion to Othram was to look only in the databases that allow law enforcement search. Is that right? Answer, our direction to them was to follow the interim policy per contract with them and any other communications we would have had with them to be able to follow the interim policy. Question, does that mean, yes, you expected them to only search the allowed databases? Answer, I believe that that is what would have been communicated. That's our understanding, bottom of page 106 into 107. That interim policy means is that they would search those databases that are allowable to be searched by us as a law enforcement entity. Question, after Othram turns over whatever they turn over to the FBI and you get the report and they get paid, is that the end of it with Othram for this case? Answer, so they provided to us a report after we had asked them to turn over all of the information to the investigating agency and to the FBI. They provided us with what was identified as a preliminary report. I believe they titled it that because it was not a final report. The testing, we had asked them to terminate the testing, but they were not at a final result of a name to provide to us, an investigative lead to provide to us. Question, why was the decision made for the FBI to take this over and not let Othram finish? Answer, I don't know. I can't speak to that. Question, in that meeting, there was nothing stated about why we were going to do this? Answer, I don't recall specific reasons, but they had asked us to transfer everything to the feds. Question, okay, did you take a look at those two profiles, the FBI's SNP profile and Othram's SNP? Bottom of page 107 into 108 profile. Have you ever looked at those? Answer, did we look at those or did I look at those? Question, did you? Answer, I did not. No. Question, have you seen them? Answer, no. Question, would it be surprise you to know that the Fed's profile was over twice as big as Othram's? Answer, again, I have no knowledge of what the Feds did or didn't do. I have no knowledge or yet. Question, how involved were you with the Fed's process of their genetic genealogy? Answer, I was not involved other than to provide the samples to where they asked us to send those samples to, and then from that point, I was not involved in the process. Again, this is the direct examination of Matthew Gamette, an official with the Idaho State Police Forensics Department, by Ann Taylor, who is lead counsel for Mr. Kohberger. Next question, line 18. Have you become aware that they searched databases that are not allowed to be searched by law enforcement? Answer, pure speculation is all I know, but I have no firsthand knowledge of anything. Question, okay, fair enough. Thanks for that. Ms. Taylor, Your Honor, if I can have just a moment, this is the bottom of page 108. And as we've noted before, when this happens, when the attorney asks for a break, asks for a few minutes, perhaps to go back and to ask, there were other two attorneys in the room representing Mr. Kohberger. Ann Taylor has been conducting this examination of Mr. Gamette for a while. There's pages and pages of testimony here. And she may then want to review something. Is there something that she needs to ask? Go over her notes, ask one of the other two attorneys, and then possibly come back with other questions. This is an example of what might happen during a break like this. And also, I want you to note, as you read the transcript itself, that it doesn't tell you how long of a break it is. It goes just question, answer, and then once in a while, like we've seen one time where the court reporter did have a question of what was asked, but there's no indication here how long of a break is, and that's not unusual. That is typical for transcripts. So we start now at the top of page 109, question by Ms. Taylor. I have a couple of questions for you about some documentation. Answer, sure. Question, the document that gives recommendations for you to call some of the four brothers, where is that? Answer, so I believe that this was provided to us telephonically. I don't recall there was like an official report. I don't think there was an email. I think it was names provided telephonically, And then those names were actually provided as part of that report that came several days after the conclusion of testing. Question, okay, so you recognize those names from that report? Answer, yes, those had been provided to us before. Question, the work that you were doing before trying to call one of those brothers, where did you keep your documents for that? Answer, as far as the records, and I'm sorry, I'm confused as to the question. Question, let me ask it better. You did some work, research work, before you and Detective Gooch made the phone call to one of them, we're at the bottom of 109 into 110, brothers, and kind of built out a family tree and did some other research. Where did you keep that? Line 3. Answer, those were paper copies, and those were just retained and then sent to Othram as part of us communicating back to them, basically saying this is the work we did, and we're providing those back to you in case they're helpful as you continue to build out the family trees. Question, do you still have a copy of those? Answer, yes. Question, did you document your attempt to get a voluntary sample from one of the brothers? Answer, I do not believe so. Question, do you know if Detective Gooch wrote a police report about that? Answer, I don't know. Question, did she provide any of her notes to you, her investigative notes? Answer, not to me. I don't know if she kept notes. Question, okay, did you watch her write anything down? Answer, I did not. We were telephonic, I believe, at that point. Question, it would be hard to see that at the bottom of page 110. Now we're going into 111. Continued question from Ms. Taylor. Have you seen any documentation from that December 10th meeting? Answer, not to my knowledge. Question, okay. Any documentation that's come your way from the Fed's work? Answer, not to my knowledge. Question, have you turned over your work with the genetic genealogy, the help you were giving Othram? Have you turned that over to the prosecutor? Answer, I have not turned over physical copies of anything. I believe that our agency complied with the discovery request. I don't know exactly what was provided as part of that discovery request. Certainly, it is in an email document from me to Othram Labs. And as such, I would assume that that would have gone as part of the discovery request. Question, are you talking about discovery requests that the defense made? Answer, I'm not exactly sure. We were just asked to comply. We know that at any point our emails are discoverable, and I believe the way the agency, the way that ISP handles discovery requests, large discovery requests especially, is to do a, quote, email pull, end quote, of anything that might be related to the case. Bottom of page 11, going into page 112. Question, I think that the area that I'm concerned about, and I do have a lot of emails, so thank you for that. The procedures and protocols from Othram that you know about, that you've read, where are they? Answer, so those protocols would have been back in 2021, I believe, from when we initially did the RFP. RFP, ladies and gentlemen, is a common term known as request for proposal. So let's just go back here. Answer, so those protocols would have been back in 2021, I believe, from when we initially did the RFP. I believe it's the RFP process. I'm not completely familiar. It might be an intent to bid. I'm not sure what to call the process. Regardless, when that process was going through, they would have provided those documents to us at that point, and I believe those documents likely exist. Question, okay. Any of the work that Othram did in getting from DNA sample all the way down to S&P profile, where are they? Answer, where is the documentation of that? I do not have that documentation. That was not provided to us, to my knowledge, and I don't know everything that was provided back to the laboratory potentially, but to my knowledge, we were not provided with that information. Question, would Othram have it? Answer, potentially, I don't know. Question, the work that they did to come up with, and we're at the top of page 113, a name to give to you for further investigation. Where are those documents? Answer, I don't know. Question, and your documents, some went to Othram, but you still have a copy of those. Answer, I do. Ms. Taylor, I think that's it. Thank you very much. That's all from me for now. And line 9, we see Mr. Nye for the state of Idaho stating, no questions, Your Honor. Line 10, the court, thank you. You can step down. Ms. Taylor, my next witness is Daniel Hellwig. We will come back to continue on with the direct examination of Mr. Hellwig. This is On page 113, we've learned a lot of, I think, invaluable information from this direct examination of Mr. Gamette, an official with the ISP Forensics Department. Details not before disclosed to the public, even information filling in some of the blanks that we had learned through the order denying the IGG suppression motion. I believe that this transcript is a must-read, and I hope that you will continue to listen to the Indie Zone podcast. This is a very special event. We usually do not go over 4 minutes, and we never go over 5 minutes in any of our presentations, but this is invaluable information that many serious researchers into this case have been waiting over 2 years to receive. This will now conclude this episode of our Indie Zone podcast, looking at the transcript from the June 23rd, 2025 closed and sealed hearing. My name is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.